So Sri Lankan law actually doesn't say anything about homosexuality. So sections 365 and 365A do not mention the words homosexuality, and what it actually criminalizes is certain acts. And now these certain acts are criminalized irrespective of your sex or gender or your sexual orientation, right? So section 365, what that criminalizes is carnal intercourse against the order of nature between man, woman and animal. That is what that law says. And section 365A criminalizes gross indecency between any persons, whether in public or private. Okay, so these laws, very clearly there is no word of homosexuality, but what we need to understand is what do we mean by carnal intercourse against the order of nature between man, woman and animal. And I'm putting these questions forward because a lot of the time when I consult or speak with a lot of corporates, they are afraid to do anything concerning the LGBT community because they think it's a criminal activity and therefore they may be participating in a criminal activity by supporting the community. Any form of sex actually without a reproductive purpose falls into this category. And there have been various court judgments over the years. So one of the acts is anal sex, which is how this affiliation of this law came very closely with male homosexuality, not female homosexuality, male homosexuality. So anal sex is covered, irrespective of the sex or the gender of the parties in this participation. But then courts have gone beyond. So courts have also held that oral sex is also criminalized under this law. And in fact, when Singapore removed this particular law, their main argument was they're repealing the law which criminalized oral sex, because what happened in Singapore and many other countries was that a lot of ex-girlfriends and ex-wives of men, of heterosexual men, went and complained to the police saying, oh, my husband made me perform oral sex on him. And then of course there's a very absurd decision on mutual masturbation. So the court said that when you are masturbating someone, that is intercourse, because the penis is going through someone's hand, and obviously because you cannot reproduce when you're masturbating, that is also carnal intercourse against the order of nature. So when we really look at just section 365 alone, without going into 365A, I think almost all of us here are probably criminals. Right? We have all participated in some form of activity, at least masturbation, which has not resulted in a child being born. And technically, you can also argue that using a condom, taking the contraceptive pill, those are also offenses technically. And then we have section 365A, which criminalizes gross indecency between any persons. So we have to look at what is grossly indecent. And when we look at, we must have read all these sort of news reports where the police are arresting couples for holding hands, kissing, hugging each other. So they're all being charged under gross indecency offenses. But the offense of gross indecency in public. But 365A also criminalizes gross indecency in private. So technically, for any of us to kiss your own husband or wife, to hold their hand, to hug, is also a criminal offense. So I don't know how anyone expects anyone to reproduce without doing any of these things. So not only are these laws conflicting with each other, but it's created an absurd situation. But of course, the main target of these laws has been the LGBT community, because they're an easier target. So they know that, okay, if two gay men or two gay women are having sex, they cannot reproduce, therefore it's an easier target to attack. But it doesn't mean there hasn't been prosecutions of people who are heterosexual in Sri Lanka. I also have to differentiate the transgender community here, because changing your gender or your sex assigned at birth, there's a legal procedure in Sri Lanka for it. So that's been there for about 10 years almost. You can change your assigned sex at birth, and you have to seek a consultation from a psychiatrist. You get a gender recognition certificate, and based on that gender recognition certificate, you can change your ID card, you can change your birth certificate, and you can change your passport details. So that procedure is there. It's not as hotly contested as sexual orientation seems to be. And you can see the narrative is very different compared to the Western narrative, where in the West, sexual orientation seems to be more accepted, but trans issues have become hot political topic. But in a South Asian context and in a South Asian culture, trans people are very much have been part of our histories and our culture for a long time, and therefore it has become less of an issue politically to recognize trans identities.